Today we'll be talking about effective safety management systems. So how do we actually manage our safety program so we get results out of that? I just want to remind everyone of the FCA safety helpline. At the end of this webinar, it is difficult to do question and answers. So if you do have a question, I would like for you to either call the helpline or submit an email, and we'd love to get back to you and get any answers for that. So again, my name is Drew Page. I'm the Director of Operations at Optimum Safety Management, FCA liaison for the Safety Advisory Committee, which we used to meet monthly, and we're moving to a biannual meeting, and we're moving our Safety Advisory Committee monthly meetings to a Safety Advisory phone call. So we want to open that to all FCA members. So if this is your first time joining us on a webinar, or you haven't been involved in any of those committee meetings, I'll give you some more details at the end here, but we would love for you to call in and either listen or participate. But we're talking about a lot of safety related issues, and we can definitely highlight more on the management of your program. So my experience in the safety world is working with a large general contractor from foundation through finishes, downtown Chicago, high-rise construction. So I did that for about 5 years, and now I've transitioned into the consulting world where 50% of our clients are in construction and the other 50 are general industry. So I get to see a lot of different operations. I get to see a lot of different management styles, get to see a lot of different companies from different levels of their safety program, and we get to challenge them and help them move their safety program forward. So moving on here. So at Optimum, we've developed a management system that you're seeing right here. Starts with management commitment. Without management commitment, the program's not going anywhere. We should know this from any program within our companies. It starts at the top. What the top drives happens. If the top's not driving it, it usually doesn't happen or it's unsuccessful. So it starts with management commitment. That's all the way at the top, from the president to the owner, right? To the directors and everybody else. So it has to start at the top. From there, program development. We're going to talk about each one of these individually. Program development, once we have our management commitment, we need a program. And then we need to train our employees on that program, right? After we're training them, then we need to inspect what we're expecting out of them. We told them during training what we're expecting. We need to inspect to make sure that's actually happening, right? If it is happening, great. Let's give some kudos. If it's not happening, let's do something about it. Corrective action. So we're going to be hitting on all of these today. And this is going to drive an effective safety management system. So if you don't have something currently going on in your organization, I would challenge you to look at maybe as we go through this, where your shortfalls are, and that's something you can be focusing on. So let's start with management commitment. So what drives management's commitment to safety? That is the question. Something has to drive their commitment. So there's a bunch of different things. So let's just start looking at some of them, right? An injury or an incident. That would definitely drive management commitment to safety. So if we're having a handful of minor injuries, that might get the attention of management, especially at the end of the year when they're signing the OSHA summary log and they're looking at that and they're like, whoa, we had 40 injuries last year. You know, I didn't hear much about them, but I didn't know it was this much, right? We need to be doing something different. Or a major injury, even a fatality, a major near miss, major property damage incident. These are going to drive management's commitment to safety. So nobody wants to see that. So sometimes, you know, it takes a major event to happen to kind of wake up management and they're seeing, maybe we don't have it all together. We need to do something different. So that's going to drive management's commitment. DART rate and EMR, that'll definitely drive management's commitment. So DART rate, what are we talking about here? We're talking about days away, restricted time. So if you've ever had an injury in your company where it was a lost time injury or a restricted duty injury that's going on your OSHA log as such, right? We get a rate out of that, calculate it throughout the whole year. How many of those injuries did we have and how many work hours did we have? And we're going to have a rate, right? So you can go online and you can look up for your industry, what is the average DART rate? And where do you compare to that? Are you above average or are you below average? So you want to get that DART rate below the average numbers, meaning you're having less of these more severe injuries. Let's face it, if someone's not showing up to work the next day because of an injury, it was pretty severe. If they're showing up to work and they can't do their same job, it's pretty severe. We should be investigating that. But that DART rate, so why would that drive management's commitment to safety? Who's looking at that? If you're doing pre-qualifications, they're asking you for your DART rate. They're asking to look at your OSHA logs, right? And that might become an issue when they're bidding out work, right? They might be having a conversation with management saying, you are one of our low builders, but we're also looking at XYZ who has about the same number, and their DART rate isn't as high as yours. We're concerned about that, right? If those kind of conversations are happening, management is definitely going to start getting committed to safety. What about our EMR, right? Experience modification rating. So this is the rating that your insurance company is going to give you. And what this does, it's a large calculation based off the last 3 years of insurance claims. And they're going to be looking at the quantity of injuries and definitely the severity of injuries. So if you have, 100 minor injuries that are put in as a claim, that's going to be an issue. If you have one major injury and the insurance company is paying out $500,000 to $1 million for it, that's going to drive that EMR up. So that calculation, again, it takes into account the severity, meaning how much money had to get paid out for this workman's compensation injury. And then it's going to calculate it and look at and compare your company to other industries and size of companies that are similar to yours. So it wouldn't be fair for me to compare a company who's installing carpet to a structural steel erector, right? Structural steel erection is inherently more dangerous, so they're going to get compared to other structural steel erectors. And if you're installing carpet, you're going to get compared to other carpet installers. So they take all the data from the carpet installers and your size company as well. If you have 20 employees, wouldn't it be fair to compare you to a company with 200 to 500 employees? So all of that is going to be taken into consideration. It's a very long formula. At the end of the day, you're going to get a number, and number one would be average for your industry, your size company. So 1, your average. If you were a 1.1, that means you're 10% worse than average, right? So nobody likes to be worse than average. I think everybody wants to be better than average. So you're going to want to be maybe a 0.9, meaning you're 10% below average, or a 0.8, meaning you're 20% below average. So in saying all this, how is this going to drive management's commitment to safety? Well, this number is going to get recalculated every year, and this is going to help drive your premiums either down if you're less than 1, or it's going to drive them up if you're greater than 1. So if you're a 1.1, you're 10% over the average. Your premium, your annual premium, is going to be adjusted 10% higher. If you're 0.9, you're 10% better than the average, your premium's going to get adjusted 10% lower. So you're saving on your annual premium for your workman's compensation. So that EMR keeps getting inflated. The cost of workman's comp keeps going up, and potentially over time, the insurance company could drop you, right? That's definitely going to get management's attention and maybe get them recommitted and more committed to safety. Again, general contractors, large construction management companies, they're also looking at this EMR. There are some large general construction managers that say if you're above a 1, we won't allow you to do work with us. Or you have to send in a mitigation plan for you to complete the work on site. So again, it's going to raise some eyebrows once that starts going up. All right, what's next? Morality. Absolutely. So it's just the right thing to do. There's a lot of management out there that just know it's the right thing to do. Maybe we don't have a very solid safety program. They see the holes in it. They understand that we haven't had a major injury. Our DART rate and our EMR is really low, but we know we could be better. We want to be better. We want to ensure that our employees are going home at the end of every day the same way they came to us. We want to value those employees and take care of them, and we can be doing better. So maybe that's going to drive their commitment to safety more than what it already was. OSHA, absolutely. OSHA can definitely drive management's commitment to safety. We talked last webinar why an OSHA inspection would happen. Number one is imminent danger. If they're driving by somewhere and they see imminent danger, they're going to stop and open up an inspection. Number two, employee complaints. If an employee is going to send in a complaint to OSHA, they're going to follow up. And then your severe injuries that are mandated to be reported, hospitalization, amputation, loss of eye, they'll be investigating those. And then obviously fatalities. But yeah, OSHA inspections. So we've seen contractors get hit with 6 serious citations at $12,000 a pop. That's $60,000, right? $60,000. That's gonna wake management up in a heartbeat, right? Nobody wants to pay the federal government $60,000 to learn what they're not doing right, right? You probably want to take that money and pay someone else to help you learn what you're not doing right and get you better and see a return on your investment. So that would be more important. So don't learn safety from OSHA because it's going to cost you a lot of money. And then that's a black scar on the company that never goes away. You can go to OSHA's website. You can type in your company's name, and it's going to show you since 1971, if the company's been around, whenever it started, if there's been any OSHA inspections, it's going to show you that there's been an OSHA inspection. If there's been citations, it's going to show you, and it's going to show you what the penalty was. So again, who's looking at this? Definitely when you're bidding work, they're looking at this through pre-qualification. So keeping OSHA off your back is highly recommended, but that will definitely drive commitment to safety by management. Rising work comp costs, absolutely. You might have, we talked about the EMR going up and your premium is going up, but what about your deductible? So maybe every employee that is injured, you're paying $1,000 out of pocket per employee, and you have 10, 15, 20 employees a year getting injured. That's $10, $20,000, right? $1,000 per employee. Or maybe you have a larger deductible. Maybe you're saying, maybe the program is, I'm going to cover the first $50,000 of this injury before insurance kicks in, and that's going to help me lower my premium, my annual premium. So now you have a little bit more skin in the game, and management is definitely going to be committed to safety because they want to protect, obviously, their profits and not be paying it out for injuries. So there are multiple other reasons why management would be committed or what drives management's commitment to safety. But once we're there, sometimes there's hurdles, right? Once we're there, we need to get motivated. What's next? So some of the hurdles that we might come across are, okay, I'm motivated, I'm committed, I know I need to do something, but this is going to cost a lot of money, right? For me to change my program, I'm going to have to hire somebody, multiple people. I'm going to have to train everybody. It's going to cost me a lot of money, right? So that might be a hurdle that management is dealing with. So just to put this in perspective, here's an example of a company that we've worked with starting back in 2007. And they kind of had the same attitude, right? Their attitude was, we're going to hire you. This is going to cost us a lot of money. We don't think we can do that, right? They ended up having a major OSHA citations, had to pay a lot of money to OSHA, ended up hiring us after that in 2007 to help get that cleaned up. We started working with them. So look what happened to their EMR. It started significantly dropping year after year, and then it kind of peaked. So 1.23, that means they were 23% worse than average, down to, in 2012, 0.7 EMR. That's fabulous, right? If you're ever getting into the 0.7s or the 0.6s, that's awesome, outstanding. So what happened to their annual premium? The first year alone, after the first year, when that dropped down almost 20 points, right? They saved about $110,000 from their annual premium. So now I don't know what their contract with us was, but it wasn't $110,000. And so pretty much they made all their money back. They got a return on their investment. Their company is stronger for it. Their foremen are stronger. Their employees are stronger. Everybody's trained. They're knowing what to do right. And then they still had money left over. So now we can buy more PPE or more giveaways for the employees that are doing the right thing, or whatever the case may be. They have more money to dump back into the program and keep making it better and better, which they did, and you can see the results. So if we have a sticking point with cost, we need to be, if management, you're on the phone, you can think of it in this way. Make sure you're getting a return on your investment. That EMR is high. Let's drive it down. Spend money now to drive it down, because it's only going to continue to go up. If you're a safety professional listening to this, this is a great way to bring it to management and show them, what we're doing now, we need to change. And it's not going to make us better as a company in regards to safety, but it's actually financially responsible to do it this way as well. So what's another hurdle? Time. So yeah, I'm committed. I know we got to do this, but I don't have the time. I have all this other stuff going on that I can hardly get done. And this is going to add one more thing to my plate. So let's look at this. Stephen Covey, time management matrix. It's good to understand this. So you have your not important and your not urgent box in quadrant 4. This is the time wasters, the stuff that we should never be doing. Management should not be doing this stuff. This is the kind of stuff that can get delegated to somebody else, but is a time waster. There's no importance here, right? Not important, but urgent. Not important, but urgent. Again, time waster. We shouldn't be doing it. If it's not important, why are we even thinking about doing it? Delegate. Up here, quadrants 1 and 2, very important. All the important stuff. A lot of this is not urgent, and most of it is urgent, right? So this is quadrant 1, where we spend most of our day. Everything that's on fire. We need this now. It's important. This is going on. It has to get done now. And that usually crowds out everything that is not urgent, because that's the stuff you can put aside. But this is the not urgent and important box. This is where we're doing all of our planning. This is where our safety program and planning that out and getting a good plan and executing it it lies in this important and not urgent box. It's going to take time to do. We understand that. If it's not done today, potentially there's no effects tomorrow. But over time, as we keep putting it off and keep putting it off, it's going to get crowded really fast into that urgent box, right? Hey, OSHA's on site. We have an issue, right? It just went from not urgent to urgent. And now you have no plan, you have no procedure, and it's getting worse as the situation goes on. Or you get that phone call, so-and-so just fell, they're getting taken to the hospital, and now they're hospitalized. You got to call OSHA, and it opens up an OSHA inspection. So now you have an injured employee. They have to go to his family and let him know this is what's going on. And now you're dealing with the aftermath with OSHA and the aftermath with the employee potentially never coming back to work. So that's not good. So the more time we can spend in that quadrant 2, kind of our planning and getting that program, the better. Just a little bit a week, a little bit a day, whatever we need to do, but definitely that's important. And then the third hurdle might be knowledge. So you might be listening to this and you might say, hey, this all sounds great. Yeah, we're probably that company that needs to do something a little different, but I got to be honest with you. I know nothing about safety. I don't even know where to begin, right? And so that's okay. That happens. There are resources out there. First, management training, that's huge, right? Anyone in a management position, continuing our leadership skills. So leadership training, that's going to help with not only the whole business, but definitely the safety aspect, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to lead these employees to doing the right way, doing the right thing. We want to lead the company to a safety culture. We're not trying to bang this over everybody's head as it'll be resented that way. So leadership training, absolutely. Safety management system theory. So understanding what we're going through today. Understanding more of OSHA. So maybe there's an OSHA 10-hour or an OSHA 30-hour. Also, you can go back and listen to the OSHA Top 10 Compliance webinar from last time from FCA. That's on the website. And then specific training topics. So further education to management across the board, right? So that's something that safety professionals that are listening to this, you know, it's top tier management has to drive it, but then it starts trickling down. Where are your superintendents at, right? Do they have the OSHA 30-hour training? If not, highly recommend it. Where are your foremen at? Do they at least have an OSHA 10-hour training, right? A competent person training for what they're doing. So this is all things that can be taken into consideration. Other resources, FCA, right? Safety helpline. So there's a lot of resources out there. Okay, management is now committed. Now what do we do, right? We need to develop our programs. We need to develop the safety program that our company is going to operate under. So these programs can come in the form of job hazard analysis. This is very important. Breaking down the major jobs that we have going on, breaking them down into their individual tasks, identifying what the hazards are during those tasks, and what are we going to do to control those hazards. So I would highly encourage that job hazard analysis are, you know, pick the top 10 jobs that you do and start picking them off, you know, maybe do one a week, maybe do one a month, but do something. We got to have a program for everything we do. We need a program for it. So if it's fall protection, you need a written fall protection program. Written electrical program. I know you're not going to be doing electrical work, but you're using electrical tools, electrical cords, you're plugging into electrical outlets. You need to have a program to stay away from electrical panels and not tamper with circuit breakers, so on and so forth. So all of this has to be written. If you've ever experienced an OSHA investigation, it starts with an opening conference, then the walk through the job, and then usually what results is they send you a nice friendly letter requesting a bunch of documents. One of them is if there's an issue with, let's say, fall protection, they want to see your written fall protection program. And they're going to be asking for training and so on and so forth. But we need a written program. So this is, what are we going to do as a company to comply to the standard? How are we going to make this standard work within our organization? And then procedures. So this is more industrial with lockout tagout procedures, but there might be other procedures that you need to develop internally to comply with your program. So program development is huge and definitely always ongoing. So we've got management committed. We have a program in place for what we're doing. Now we need to train our employees, which is the logical next step, right? So we like to think of training in 3 different buckets. You have your initial training, you have your specific training, and your ongoing training. So your initial training, day 1, you hire a new employee. What are we doing with them? Are we throwing them out on the job and not talking to them? If so, we're missing a great opportunity. Day 1, the employee should have some type of safety orientation, right? Minimum 30 minutes. I would like to see that probably around 60 minutes, right? That's going to give them up front. Our culture is safety. We want you to work safe on the job. Here's our policies. Here's our procedures. These are our rules, right? So now they're going to go on the job site and they're going to be thinking to themselves, this company means business. They're all about safety. They're not like my last company where I could do whatever I want, right? You have to set that expectation up day 1. If not, they're going to go out there and maybe they're thinking, these people don't really even care about us. We can do whatever we want. You know, you're setting a bad tone from day 1. So day 1, there needs to be an initial new hire orientation. And it might not stop after day 1. Maybe there's, I know some companies do day 1 and then a 1-week follow-up. Because day 1, there might be a lot going on, a lot of new stuff. They're meeting the foreman, they're meeting the new employees, they're trying to understand the company, the job that they're on. You're throwing all this safety stuff at them. So maybe there's a second orientation, week 2, to make sure this stuff sticks. Department-specific orientation. Maybe in your company you have different departments, right? Maybe you're a large organization and you have different sections of your company and you need a specific orientation for that specific training. So we're done with our initial training. They're onboarded. What are they going to be doing? Are they going to be using a boom lift? If so, we got to train them. Are they going to be using a forklift? If so, we got to train them, right? Not because it's the right thing to do. It's also the law. That is definitely compliance. They have to be trained. You have to do a road test. You have to evaluate them. You have to make sure that they are comfortable and knowledgeable to operate boom lifts, scissor lifts, forklifts. Are they going to be involved? Are they going to be exposed or around any fall hazards, right? As simple as training to say you should never be exposed to any fall greater than 6 feet. There always needs to be hole covers in place, always needs to be guardrails up. If you're ever in a situation where that's not occurring, you need to get yourself out of that area and report it to the foreman. It might be that simple, right? Or maybe you're doing work where you need the harness and lanyard, right? You need a harness and retractable. Are we training them on how to put that on, how to inspect it? What happens in the event of a fall? Do we have a rescue plan? We have to train them on the specifics of these topics. Scaffolding, there's a lot of training there. Are you just a user, or are you a builder? Or are you a competent person? Confined space. So there's a lot going on here. We need to maybe have a specific training grid that would help to show, all right, this is your role, this is your title, here's all the training you need. So maybe that'll be something that would help you if you made a grid of all the training, and then you could start tracking who has what and then where do we have any gaps? Ongoing training, absolutely. So these are the things that we need on an annual basis. And we like to deliver ongoing and training as a weekly toolbox talk, right? Hazard communication, annual training, do an annual toolbox talk. Through the FCA, they have their toolbox talks. There's a series of three back-to-back weeks where you're hitting the topics of hazard communication. Respirators or dust masks on a voluntary use. We need to train on Appendix D every year. Great way to do that. Have it in your toolbox talk rotation. So a little bit more on the new hire orientation. I would highly recommend that there is a checklist showing what we've gone through on day one, and that the employee understands that and they sign off on it and keep that as record, right? In the event that OSHA does show up and they're asking for training records, you want to have record of it. In the event that you have continual issues with an employee, you can sit them down and say, I don't understand what's going on. Day one, we told you about fall protection. You know, month one, we put you through a fall protection competent person course that was 4 hours. Month 6, we had a company meeting where we talked about the importance of fall protection. And we continuously have these issues where you're not complying to our policies, right? So you can lay that out in front of them and ask them, you know, what else do we need to do? Are we going to change? Specific training, I think we nailed that down. And then our ongoing training, again, weekly toolbox talks is a great way to deliver that ongoing training. It also gets the crew together on a weekly basis. Monday mornings, 7 a.m., best time to do this. Everyone's kind of dragging in from the weekend already, thinking about the weekend, not really motivated to get started. You just throw them out there 7 a.m. on Monday. Maybe it's kind of a lazy start and their head's not in the game and an injury is going to happen, right? Where if you start with the toolbox talk, you know it's going to be a slow start anyways. Let's slowly start it off with the toolbox talk, get their head in the game, remind them, hey, you're back at work. Let's be thinking about safety. And not only are we just going to talk about this topic for about 5-10 minutes, but I want to hear back from you guys. Are there any issues that you've been having on the job or any concerns that you have? And it brings a good open forum for the employees to be communicating any issues that they may be having. If you don't have a Toolbox Talk program currently, FCA has a Toolbox Talk program for all FCA international members that all you need to do is make a phone call. You'll get set up with that for free. It's about an $800 a year value. That's besides the point. The real value is every week for 52 weeks, you get a new topic and you're really training your employees. And again, document on a sign-in sheet, keep the records. All of this is legit training in the event OSHA's ever asking for training records. So we're committed to safety. We have our programs. We've done all our training. We're not done. We have a lot more to do. Again, effective safety management system. You need a feedback loop now. What is your check, right? So we have to go out and do safety surveys. We have to see what's going on the job. Is the training actually sticking, right? So we got to go out there. Those should be documented. What's the job? Who is the foreman? What was the time of the inspection? We should document the good things that you've seen out there, right? You just don't want to document the bad. Let's identify the good things that are going on. These are working. This training's sticking. This one, not so much. I'm seeing a repetitive issue of not using GFCI outlets or GFCI adapters, right? So you're picking up on that kind of stuff. And then if we're finding issues, we can't just lay them out there and put them on a report and that's it, right? You're making a paper trail of your issues. You need to follow up and make a paper trail of the corrections. So you could put that in the foreman's hand. hey, here's your inspection report. These are the issues. I need you to correct them. I need you to mark down when they're corrected and what you did, and submit this into the office. Now you have your report with corrected items on them, and that is showing that you are running your program correctly. OSHA does say that you need to frequently and regularly inspect your job sites. So what is frequently, what is regularly, is for you to decide, and OSHA tries to interpret that, but there really isn't an interpretation. They will try to say weekly, which is a great idea, but it just depends on how many jobs you have, how many employees you have, right? If you have 500 employees, absolutely weekly. I'd say daily. There needs to be some kind of inspection on the job, so you're getting to see every employee at least once throughout the month. Now, if you have 10 employees, maybe you can scale back, and again, this is going to be part of your management commitment and management decisions, but maybe it's 3 inspections a week works. You get to see every employee 1 to 3 times, and that's adequate. Right? You keep doing it and you're finding less and less issues, maybe you can scale back. You're finding more and more issues, maybe you need to scale up. But I would say that's definitely determined by the size of your company. Some considerations, just careful with the term audit. So if you're going out and you're inspecting a job site, that is an inspection. Audits are more auditing your safety management system. So auditing to see if you auditing your programs and making sure you're doing the inspections, that's more of an audit. What we're talking about here is doing a survey of the employees implementing the procedures that you've trained them on. Not saying audits are a bad thing. That's something that maybe you should look at doing biannually or annually, especially a larger company. And if you're management and have multiple safety managers, or multiple foremen running your safety program, which is an awesome way to do it, because now you're getting their buy-in. Maybe you need some kind of audit monthly, bi-monthly, to see if all of the inspections are being done, to see if all of the training is complete. Frequent and regular, we talked about that. And then utilizing third-party inspections. Absolutely. So it gives you a fresh set of eyes. So there's multiple ways to do third-party inspections. Your insurance company probably wants to come out at least annually to do an inspection on your job sites. They're not the best person to have regularly unless you have an awesome relationship with them, because that could create issues. Maybe your insurance broker has some people available and part of their package to your company. Third-party safety consultants. Also, not just focusing on one person doing the inspections is good too. I would spread it out throughout the company. I would have your foreman do inspections. Maybe that needs to be tailored to more of a checklist type item, or if you have multiple safety professionals, checklist for a safety professional, it doesn't really work because we kind of got it all in our head. We know what we're looking for. We kind of like more of an open format report with photos on them, but maybe switching up who's going to what job definitely helps grow that person, keep them interested, and you want fresh eyes on your job sites. So the last piece of the puzzle, but it does not stop here, corrective action, right? So we're doing our safety surveys and we're seeing maybe this training isn't sticking or this program isn't working. So we need to decide what is our corrective action. Maybe we need to redo all the training. It wasn't effective. It's not sticking. Maybe you just need to have 2 employees go through some training. Maybe you need to redevelop the program. The JHA is wrong. The task has changed. The standard changed, and now the program is different, right? Corrective action. It might be a management commitment issue. To correct this, we need to spend some money to get it fixed, and management's not wanting to spend the money. So that might be a management commitment issue that we need to be talking with management and helping them lead them down the right path. Maybe it's management commitment of a foreman, right? And we need to have a conversation with that person and get them some more foreman training, possibly some more leadership training. Try to pull them in closer and make them understand the importance of the safety program. Maybe the corrective action is everyone's doing a great job and you need to reinforce that. And you're just telling them thank you, right? So, but this is a constant loop. So we don't just stop. We go back to management commitment. We say, are we truly committed? Are we truly doing the right thing? Where do we need to get better? We're going and relooking at our programs. Do we have all the programs we need? Are they as good as they can be? Maybe we're looking at one a month, really fine-tuning it. We're looking at our training constantly, because if we're not constantly looking at our training, it's going to expire. It's going to get out of control. So we're reviewing that. Our safety surveys, are we doing that the right way? Are we doing it more as frequent as we should? Are the right people doing them? So there's a lot to look at, and this should be a continuous wheel where we're continuously looking at it. So one thing you definitely should understand is if OSHA ever comes out and they do give your company a citation, there's very few ways to get out of a OSHA citation. One of those is to present an unavoidable employee misconduct defense. So if you can prove all four of these, right? If you have all four legs of the stool, your defense is gonna stand up, and the OSHA citation will be thrown out. If you're missing one leg of the stool, it's gonna fall over and the citation sticks, right? So you have to have a program for the hazard or citation. So we talked about this. Everything you're doing, you have to have a written program. So if you don't have a program for that citation, there's no arguing it away. You might be able to go and talk to them and informally settle on less of a penalty, but that thing is sticking, right? Number two, you have to effectively train your workers. So effectively training your workers. So there's a lot in that word effectively. If you have bilingual or Spanish speaking or non-English speaking employees, are you effectively training them? Are you training them in their native language? A great rule of thumb that I like to use, if they didn't graduate high school from an English speaking high school, they need to be trained in their native language. So number three, did the employer have the opportunity to correct the infraction? So yeah, if the OSHA inspector has photos of the foreman or superintendent standing right next to the employee as they're exposed to a fall hazard greater than 6 feet and they're not tied off and they have those photos, then we have the opportunity to fix it, right? Foremen, superintendents, they're an extension of management. So, which is an extension of the employer. So if they didn't correct it and they were just standing there and letting it go on, we have major issues. Now, let's say they weren't around. They assigned the task and they left and they had to go to another job, or they had to go down to the trailer for a meeting, right? And OSHA's snapping pictures from outside outside in the street. They come in and say, we have an issue. I just found this guy, have pictures of him not tied off, right? So the management wasn't there. The employer didn't have opportunity to correct this particular infraction. Number four, OSHA's then going to start poking around and say, well, have you ever had this issue before? And if so, did you correct it? So did you utilize your disciplinary policy, right? And if we say we don't have any write-ups in the last 3 years, you're going to have an issue. But if you have write-ups and you have maybe not that particular employee or that particular employer, but for the last year you have maybe 5 write-ups, of employees not using fall protection properly, and showing that you retrained them and they got better, and you did inspections and they were using it properly after that. It's showing that you're running your program effectively. So you have all 4 points, the table stands up, and you can get out of an OSHA citation. More importantly, you're running a great program. So one thing that we do here at Optimum is sometimes companies will hire us to do an evaluation of their safety management system. And they might not know they have a safety management system. They might not say they have a safety management system, but they're going to have some programs in place. So we break it down to 30 key performance indicators, and then we visually graph it for them. So some of the items might be related to organizational structure, new hire process, substance abuse policy, so on and so forth, incentive programs, right? And we're going to look at all of this. We're going to look at the programs. We're going to look at the management commitment, the site surveys, the training, the corrective action. What are we doing? And we can look at it and we can give them a visual of this is where you're at for the KPIs, right? And we'll back that up with the report and recommendations on how to move forward. But the neat thing is we've done this for companies, and starting off the first time, it might have looked like this. But then the second time, what we see is the red outliers, they start to come in a little bit. And we get rid of all the red and we're maybe more in the orange. And then the following year, we're getting down maybe more towards the yellow and the green until we get that nice compact bullseye showing that our safety management system throughout all these KPIs, we're more in the best practice arena than either compliant or not compliant. So I think that's a good tool that we utilize to look at how companies are managing their safety management programs. So just want to end this webinar to remind everybody we have these monthly safety advisory calls, and we're talking about safety management systems and the issues we're having and the best practices we're doing out there, right? A lot of good things going on out there. We have 4 main players on that call that have a lot of great ideas that everyone can get involved in. So the more that call grows, the more benefit everybody gets, talking about compliance issues, training issues, so on and so forth. So the next call will be November 22nd, as those are standard, the 4th Tuesday of every month at 2 p.m. So pretty informal, call in for an hour. We're going to talk about issues we're having, best practices. Again, if you have more questions following this webinar or at any point, if anything comes up, whether it's on the safety management side of things or the compliance side of things or building a good safety culture, call the FCA safety helpline or send an email, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. Toolbox Talks, we talked about this. Monthly safety bulletins being published once a month, where you're going to have 2 blog articles kind of talking about some current event type of stuff. A lot going on in OSHA right now, so there's a lot of good publications coming out. So if you're not seeing those come across, be looking for them. You can also find them archived on the FCA's website. Some good reading there. Make sure you're up to snuff with all these OSHA changes. And then we'll have 2 articles on the focus of the month and the PPE focus of the month, which is a great way to say, all right, what program am I going to look at this month? This month is hazard communications in the safety bulletin. So let's be looking at that program. Let's be making sure that training's accurate. And then I'll give an FCA safety update as well. Lastly, we're going to be doing these webinars quarterly. So we've gotten through confined space for construction, OSHA top 10, today, effective safety management system. Coming down the pipeline is going to be a webinar on the new silica rule. So there's a lot going on there. We have about 7 months to comply in construction. So that'll be coming out very shortly. So be looking for that. And then the next 4 quarters after that, we're definitely open to ideas. If you have ideas, let's hear about them at the monthly safety call. So that concludes today's webinar. Again, thank you for your time today. And if you do have any questions, please submit them into the safety helpline. Have a great day.